I was gonna say maybe Warriors, Grizzlies. Even though Steph's out, I think they always have a huge rivalry and they don't like each other. So that might be a sleeper. But I think in terms of a marquee matchup, it's going to have implications towards the playoffs. Even if it's a blowout on one side or the other, I think this is the game to watch.
Starting the day, we've got 76ers versus the Knicks. Maybe doesn't sound too exciting, but the Knicks have been hot lately. So that's something that I would look out for. And then, of course, the 76ers are going to need to continue climbing in the East standings. I think they're going to need a good playoff spot. I think a pretty solid matchup. Any thoughts on that game?
I think it'll be an interesting matchup. I know the criticism would be, two teams that are barely up over 500, but really, I think just the NBA itself is very much leaning on parity. It's the competition's really, really tight for all those spots. So I'm looking forward to this, and I think they're playing in New York. So you mean the Garden, Christmas?
Nice.
I mean that's a big time game, and especially with the Knicks on this winning streak. I mean I think there's a lot to look forward to there.
Yeah, good point. And I agree. And you have to get the 76ers. I mean, Harden and Embiid on Christmas Day. That's pretty good deal.
That's true.
Next one that's coming up on the schedule, Lakers versus Mavericks. You got Luka. You had to have Luka on Christmas Day versus the Lakers, and hopefully LeBron brings it. So that's a good game. Both of those teams also right around 500, a little worse off than the 76ers and Knicks right now. Matter of fact, I think Dallas is still below 500, so there needs to be some urgency in Dallas, given how far they went last season and how high expectations are. But you also have some role players that need to come back for Dallas. So even though, once again, the records aren't that high, I still think this is a game with a lot of urgency that at this point right now, neither of these teams can really afford to lose. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think, Luka, LeBron, I think that's going to be a great matchup. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where these two teams go. I think we talked to a lot of Lakers fans that came on our podcast. They were not optimistic at all. So I'm sure with Anthony Davis dealing with his foot injury, even though they have been surging, this is a turning point game in terms of where the Lakers are going to go here. I mean, when this roster has been constructed, I mean, the expectations were championship. I think those, or at least going to the Western Conference Finals, and they have not met those expectations. And I think with the Mavericks too, this Christmas Day is always kind of indicative, at least lately, of a preview of what we're going to see possibly in the playoffs. So I think for both these teams, again, this is a huge game. For a huge showcase to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, it seems like AD is the worst possible player on that Lakers roster to go down. He can play well with either LeBron or Russ. LeBron and Russ don't seem to play well together even still. It's gotten better. They've worked around that a bit, but mostly because they're pacing Russ's time off the bench with LeBron's need for rest at times. So, yeah, definitely important game there. Next would be, in my opinion, the best game of Christmas Day. Certainly the most high-profile teams. Potentially your Eastern Conference Finals preview. The Bucks taking on the Celtics at 3 p.m. I don't have much else to say other than this is the best game of the day. This is the one that everyone is going to say has the most title implications. Are we getting a preview of that? And it's Tatum versus Giannis, maybe not directly matched up on each other, but facing off possession by possession. So really excited for that one. That's the one where I'm definitely going to make sure the gifts are open at that point. So right. we can mosey over to the TV and see how these teams are doing. Thoughts on this one, Justin?
No, agreed. This is I would say, this is, I think, the best game. I was going to say maybe Warriors, Grizzlies. Even though Steph's out, I think they always have a huge rivalry and they don't like each other. So that might be a sleeper. But I think in terms of a marquee matchup, it's going to have implications towards the playoffs. Even if it's a blowout on one side or the other, I think this is the game to watch.
The Bucks Celtics?
The Bucks Celtics, correct. Yes.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Yeah. Right on. Yep. And speaking of Grizzlies Warriors, they are the next slated game at 6 p.m. A little bit of a bummer, as you just mentioned, Steph Curry is
Yeah.
out. So honestly, I would prefer to slot in the Nets at this point instead of the Warriors. But this is a playoff rivalry from last year, is what they're going for with the majority of this schedule. So um, understandable that this gets slated. The Warriors, I don't know. They might be kind of out depending on how long Steph is out. So it feels kind of deflated right now. In San Francisco, but you got to have John Morant at this point on Christmas Day. He's always fun to watch. I think the Grizzlies are going to want to make a statement. That's my prediction, is they're just going to want to embarrass the Warriors as much as possible, given that the Warriors eliminated them from the playoffs last season.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
that was a contentious series. You remember all the Draymond
Yeah,
stuff and
agreed.
knocking players down and whatnot, and big old debate about um, his suspension or not suspension, those types of things. So that's my prediction: is Grizzlies are going for blood. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. This is a statement game, but watch out for the Warriors. I mean, this is a team that's underperformed, but they still have a solid roster. Poole had a recently awesome game. They still have Andrew Wiggins. Draymond's always a factor. I mean, this is a team still, you know, that has a lot of potential just to score a lot of points very quickly. Not to mention Klay Thompson as well. I mean, without Steph out there, he's going to be probably drawing a lot of focus. So I think this is going to be a pretty entertaining matchup, despite Steph being hurt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking mostly at, since he is getting that extension, how Jordan Poole is going to elevate his game while
Agreed.
Steph is out.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge thing for, like, hardcore basketball fans like you and I. When you're thinking of the transition of power on this Warriors team, that's definitely something to look for.
yeah, it's a
So
huge game.
very
Yeah.
good points, and they've got that experience, as you mentioned. So they are um, kind of most likely team to be, the old guys at the YMCA who just outpass you, and even though they can't outrun you, they just beat you with their basketball IQ. Um, Last game of the evening: Suns versus Nuggets, 8:30 p.m. Um, this is a playoff rivalry as well. Jokic has lost his cool in in playoffs previously to the Phoenix Suns. This is the Suns in four guy matchup here. Um, so that's what we're looking at with Suns versus Nuggets. Nuggets have been kind of quietly coasting comfortably towards the top of the West. Um, I want to see if the Nuggets can play intense basketball here on the spotlight in Christmas, on Christmas Day, and get the win against a good Suns team. So that's what I want to see. Can the Nuggets be resilient and deal with the pressure of the spotlight? Because we know at this point that Jokic teams can coast through the regular season. What we don't know, that you and I talked about earlier this year, is kind of their core issue, is when that intensity gets dialed up, when they have to play lockdown defense, those types of situations, can the Nuggets get it done? So that's what I'm hoping we see here, is that the Nuggets stay in this. Of course, there's always the chance with how good the Suns are that this could also be a blowout in the other direction, that the Nuggets just won't be able to keep up with the Suns. So could go either way. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is another rivalry game. So I think in terms of relevancy, it's a guarantee. Bucks, Celtics, Suns, Nuggets. That you could be seeing a potential deep playoff preview here. So I expect
True.
it to be close. I mean, I saw them play right before the playoffs started. I mean, this is another another situation with teams not liking each other, and the fans, like the Suns, make a lot of noise. And I'll be blunt, I've said it before. The Denver Nuggets, when they are losing, they're not a home court to get their team back into the game. So
Mm.
I think the Suns can always capitalize on that, especially with Booker. So I think I'd probably pick the Suns in this game. To me, in like kind of big Nuggets home court situations, I haven't liked the way that the Nuggets have responded, their fans in particular. I have been
Mm.
very critical of that. So we'll see what happens, but I think it'll be a very entertaining matchup for sure.
Suns have done it time and time again,
Yeah.
so wouldn't surprise me. I mean, a team that traveled well
Yep.
last year, a team that does still pretty darn well this year. So should be a fantastic slate of games. I think really the only high performer that we're missing is the Brooklyn Nets, who have been hot of late. Oddly enough, I mean, both New York teams right now are somewhat on fire. So that's the only real big name team we're missing. But probably again one of those business decisions on the
Yeah.
NBA's part. Like we don't want to tweet to get out of hand, and then Kyrie's not there for this game or,
Right.
or whatever. Not that that's ever happened before or anything, but just throwing that out there.